Nikon has been developing their Nikon Z system for over 4 years now. They have come out with 8 incredible cameras, including cameras like the Nikon Z9, Z6 II, Z7 II. And they are coming out with over 34 lenses by the end of 2023. But I realized I never showed you my full frame Nikon Z kit, so that's what we're doing in today's video, is a rundown of just that. So stay tuned and let's get to the video. What's up guys, a Project Photography back in the video, and today I have had my Nikon Z6 for about 3 years now. I first purchased it back in 2019 and I have loved it ever since. It has been my primary body, and since then I have picked up 2 Nikon Z6s. And I have been in love with the Nikon Z system ever since. Everything from the image quality to the sharpness to the dynamic range to just the overall feel and handling of these lenses and cameras has been absolutely stunning. But I realized I've never actually given you guys my full rundown of my camera kit. So that's what today's video is going to be. I'm going to start off with the bodies that I have and then move through the different lenses. And at the end of the video, I'm going to be telling you guys what I want to be picking up at the end of this year, or what I just hope to pick up in general. So let's get right to the video and start off with the bodies. So to kick things off, I have 2 Nikon Z6s, not Z6 IIs, because I just feel like personally for me, there's no reason for me to upgrade to these Z6 IIs. There just wasn't enough reason. But these Z6s are my camera of choice. Now, I just want to touch on this really quick that I don't really have a lower end second body. I chose to go with 2 Z6s for the specific reason of keeping consistency throughout my actual bodies. And I want to make sure that if I'm shooting with a Z6, I can jump right over to the next Z6 seamlessly as my second body. Helps keep a good consistency, a good workflow when I'm actually out shooting photos and videos. And now, these Z6s are incredible cameras. I know they came out over 4 years ago and there's been upgrades since, but everything from the image quality to the dynamic range to how the colors look straight out of camera are absolutely insane. I really don't have a problem with the autofocus, and I think a lot of people had those questions and those doubts when the first Z6s were announced. But for me and my workflow, I have come to understand these cameras in the best ways possible, and I really understand how they work and operate. And I think that's one thing with the Nikon Z6s, is they do take a little bit of time to get used to how the actual autofocus works and whatnot. Now I've gotten to the point where I just don't miss autofocus because you really understand the system as a whole. I really don't feel like there's performance issues at all, and I just feel so comfortable with these cameras overall. They've been in my workflow for, like I said, like 3 years, and they just work extremely well. I have no complaints about these cameras. I wouldn't really upgrade the cameras unless they came out with something like a Nikon Z6 III with the improved autofocus from something like the Nikon Z9. But until then, the Nikon Z6s are going to be my weapon of choice, and they are going to be for the foreseeable future just because of how amazing and incredible these cameras are. One thing I really love about these Nikon Z6s is how compact and small they are. They're only about 600 grams, so carrying around is an absolute joy. And a big reason why is that I can be able to carry 2 of them in my bag at once and not feel like I'm being weighed down. When I go out and shoot landscape photography, I'm always carrying 2 bodies. One of them has the 14-30 on there, and the other one has a 24-200 for my telephoto side. I never feel like it's too much. Like, I could not imagine carrying 2, let's say, Nikon D600s. That was my original camera before I replaced it with the Nikon Z6. I just feel like they'd be really heavy, really cumbersome if you carry 2 around. And that's kind of the real benefit of these cameras is, if I'm going to be shooting out any type of photography really, I can be able to carry the 2 cameras, have 2 different lenses on there, and not feel like I have to switch out lenses, expose the sensor to the elements, and so on. It really just keeps a very consistent, easy to use workflow, and I just feel like it just works really well with the actual lenses that I have. Having 2 bodies is definitely a must, I think, for majority of photographers. And one piece of advice I would like to give out is that if you're going to be buying a second body, don't buy a lower end body because it really creates some inconsistencies in your workflow. Just buy the same body that you already have right now, or buy an even higher end body. That's what I would personally recommend, and that's what I've done with my 2 Nikon Z6s. Now for video, these cameras are absolutely incredible. I know they don't shoot 4K 120 and so on, but the thing I really love about this for video is that the image quality is absolutely incredible. It's stunning and it just looks great. The colors pop, as well as it being extremely sharp, because not only are the lenses insane, but the actual image quality is incredible. So I really have no complaints with the Nikon Z6s, and of course I've made so many videos on these cameras, so that is essentially my summation of what I use the Nikon Z6s for and why I have 2 of them. Now let's jump into the lenses, and the first one I really want to talk about is a Nikon 24 to 70 f2.8s. Now this lens is easily the best lens I have ever used. It is absolutely incredible. It comes with me on pretty much every single shoot if it's not a landscape photography shoot. It's great for travel, it's great for portraits, it's great for street, and I just love this lens so much. This is one of those lenses where you take photos and you just think, wow, these are absolutely incredible, absolutely stunning photos. Like it just feel like you get amazing photos every single time, and it's hard to say that with all the lenses in general. Now this lens for me is an absolute workhorse. I've done so many shoots on this thing, everything from portraiture to events to even my video work. If I could really only have one lens in the Nikon Z system, it would probably be this lens, the best lens I've ever used. And I think if you were to drop a lot of money on a lens, like this is the one to get. The other thing I really love about this lens is just the incredible amount of versatility. The 24 to 70 range is probably one of the best ranges out there, especially for portraiture. Like this is actually the best lens I've ever used for portraiture, and it's not even a sub 2 aperture lens. Like I don't need the insane bokeh. Like this lens produces incredible images. Having the 24 to 70 range allows me to get those wide shots that capture an entire field of view, and kind of creates a more environmental sense of portraits, but it also allows me to get those headshots dialed in with a 70mm range. And for a 24 to 70, this lens is actually extremely light. It doesn't weigh very much, and it's the type of lens that you can kind of just throw in your bag and not really have to worry about it taking up too much space, too much weight. For a 24 to 70, it is extremely small, extremely compact, and that's one thing I think the Nikon Z system has done really well. Having compact, small, lightweight lenses really makes it a joy to go out and shoot photos. It gets out of your way and allows you to just take the photos that you want. This lens is essentially a staple in my bag, and like I said before, it's the best lens that I've ever used in my 6 years of photography. So if you have a Nikon Z system, this is the one lens that you need to get. And speaking of incredible lenses, the Nikon Z 50mm f1.8s is the next lens I really want to talk about. Now, I bought this lens because I didn't have anything under f2.8. The 24 to 70 was pretty much my fastest lens. I needed something a little bit faster than that, so the 50mm f1.8 pretty much fills that gap. And let me tell you, this lens is the best 50mm lens that I've owned. And I know it sounds like I'm just raving about these lenses, but that's how incredible the Nikon Z system is. Like, they don't create necessarily the most flashy lenses possible, like kind of like Canon and Sony, but every single lens that they come out from top to the bottom is absolutely incredible, and this 50mm definitely fits that bill. It is a little bit bigger than your traditional 50mm. When you think of 50mm, you kind of think of a small compact lens, but this one is a little bit bigger, but it's not super heavy. It weighs around 400 grams or so, but it is an absolutely stunning lens. Like, it has image quality that rivals the 24 to 70 f2.8. Like, they really have similar feels when it comes to the lenses and when it comes out to the image quality. It's extremely sharp corner to corner, and I mainly use this lens for travel, but especially for flash photography. I just want you guys to take a look at these photos and look at how incredible the photos came out, because this was shot with my 50mm, and I have nothing else to say. Like, this lens is absolutely incredible. I really think this is also a lens that should be a staple in everyone's bag. Even if you have a 24 to 70, this lens is absolutely insane. It's extremely sharp corner to corner, extremely great micro contrast. It's just an incredible lens. I think this is something that everyone should pick up. And with that being said, let's move on to the third lens in my kit. And it is the Nikon 14 to 30 f4s. Now, this is the best wide-angle lens I have ever used, and I've owned a ton of them because my landscape photography is my main niche that I like to jump into, and this lens is absolutely incredible. One big gripe I think a lot of people had about this lens when it first came out is that there's a twisting locking mechanism, and actually for me, it is a bonus, mainly because when you're fitting it in your bag, it does not take up very much space at all. It's extremely compact, extremely lightweight, absolute joy to travel around with. Think about it this way, like having a Nikon Z6 and a 14 to 30 is only 1,000 grams. That's not a lot at all. And it's really compact, being able to fit in my bag, travel places, especially if you're a landscape photographer. You know how much weight and space in your bag is at a premium. The 14 to 30 also just has incredible images. Like, I've taken all these photos with the 14 to 30 and they have all come out super flawless. It's just extremely sharp edge to edge, which you really need in a landscape photography lens like this. And one thing I really want to point out is that it's a 14mm with an 82mm filter thread. That is extremely hard to find in pretty much any lens out there. because normally 14 millimeters have that bulbous front element, even if it's something like an f4. And having this lens at 14 millimeters at 82 millimeters is extremely, extremely nice because I don't have to carry around these huge systems for ND filters. I can just use my screw-on filters for the front. It makes it much more easier, much more convenient, and so on. And I've used this lens for everything from landscape photography to architectural work, for video, and even real estate work that I've done in the past. This lens is actually a workhorse. Like, you wouldn't really say that about an f4 lens, but this lens really is a workhorse. I really don't feel like I need the f2.8, but this lens is it's just incredible. I really feel like if you're doing wide angle stuff and you don't really need the 2.8, the 14 to 30 is probably your best bet, especially if you're doing things like landscape photography, architectural work, things that are more meticulous, you can take more time on. So 14 to 30, incredible lens. I absolutely love it. Now, this next lens isn't something that I have done a full review on, but I am planning to do so, and it is the 24 to 200 f4 to 6.3 Z lens. Now, surprisingly, this is a fantastic lens for an all-in-one lens. Traditionally speaking, those 28 to 300s have not been the best lenses. They've had sharpness issues, they've had contrast issues, and it kind of degrades the image because you just have so much glass in the middle. But this 24 to 200 actually impressed me a lot. The images are very sharp. No one is denying that. And I originally bought it to use it for my landscape photography because Nikon has not come out with a lightweight telephoto lens for landscape photographers, something like a 70-300 lightweight telephoto. So this lens fits the bill just perfectly, even though it doesn't go out to 300 millimeters. 200 millimeters for me is just fine, and I've used it for quite a while now. I've come out with some pretty incredible images. I even use this thing for portraiture because I don't have a 70-200. That is one lens that I'm really looking forward to picking up in 2022 that I really desperately need. But in a pinch, this lens for portraiture has actually been really incredible. I know it is 6.3 at the long end, but I just want you to take a look at these photos and just how incredible they are because they truly are something special. And one thing about this lens is that it has incredible amounts of versatility. Now, you're not going to get that extremely shallow depth of field because it is a 4 aperture at the wide end and 6.3 at the long end, so you really don't have a lot of light to work with. But in terms of compositional work, it definitely fits the bill in terms of what you need. It provides a lot of versatility. Being from 24 to 200 is an extremely useful range and something that I've used quite a bit for my work. And, you know, look at these photos of the Golden Gate Bridge. You can get different perspectives, different views, and I think that's what you really want in a lens like this. You know, Nikon and a lot of these other camera manufacturers have had this trend of going to 6.3 and f8 as like their, you know, some of the lenses in terms of like the darkest apertures for these variable lenses, and I really don't like that. The standard used to be f5.6 back in the day, but now it's 6.3, f8, and it really just like bothers me a little bit, and I wish this lens at the like longer end was at f5.6. I feel like it just would have added a little bit more depth to the photos, and that's one thing I feel like this lens really lacks a little bit, is that I feel like there's not as much depth, and it's kind of expected knowing that the longest on the longest end it is a 6.3 aperture, so that's just something you do have to keep in mind. So this lens really does not have an extremely, you know, use it for everything type of feel to it. It is very much for specific uses, specific reasons. And if you're buying this lens for the one-stop shop, do-it-all lens, I don't think this is the lens to do that. I really do think something like a 24 to 70 2.8 is the way to go. But putting that aside, if you know what you're using this lens for and you have specific purposes, specific reasons for it, pick up this lens because it's actually kind of a steal. It's a sub $1,000 Nikon Z lens, which is kind of hard to find. It's incredible image quality, incredible uses, incredible versatility for specific reasons. And if you know what you're doing with it, then the images are just going to come out great. A 5.6 at the long end would have been preferable, but you know, that's just how it is sometimes. Now let's talk about the last lens that I have never actually talked about on this channel. It is the Nikon 200 to 500 f5.6. Now this is not a Z lens, and this is a lens that I've used for mainly sports and wildlife. But when it comes to being workhorses for my photography, this lens is actually it for sports and wildlife. This lens has been around for a very long time. I'm not sure when it was released, but it's for the F mount, is Nikon, not for the Nikon Z mount. And when it comes to sports and wildlife, it has okay image quality. It does have a little bit of sharpness issues, especially on the long end. The autofocus speed is okay, but the thing about this lens is that on paper it might not be the best compared to nowadays lenses, but it gets the job done. It helps me create and capture incredible images, and for me, that's all you really need. Even though it doesn't have the most up-to-date specs, up-to-date hardware, and so on, it helps me create incredible images, and it captures them. I've really never had a problem with it. Of course, on paper, it could be better, but if you're able to still get incredible images and whatnot, That's really what matters. The other thing I really love about this lens is that it's actually very compact for a 200 500, yet still has a good amount of weight, a good amount of feel to it. I can still put on my monopod and not make it feel like it's really unbalanced, super light, like too small, too lightweight, and it's perfect for, you know, my sports, action, wildlife. The only other gripe I really have about this lens is the fact that, you know, when you're turning the actual zooming ring, it doesn't go from 200 to 500 in one full turn. You really have to do like a few turns to get it there, which is slightly annoying, but it's something I've kind of worked around over the years, and I've been doing sports photography for, man, like, yeah, like about 3 years now. So, and this lens has been the lens that I've used for that work. It's incredible, and honestly, when the Nikon 200 to 600Z version comes out, that's probably the lens I want to pick up, just because, you know, you get that better autofocus speed, you get the better image quality, you get the better, you know, native use with a Nikon Z system. And for the price, this lens is actually really incredible to own. When I bought it, it was about $850. I'm not sure what the price is right now. If you're actually in the market for a lightweight, you know, super telephoto zoom, this is probably the one to get. Nikon really doesn't have anything else like it, and you know, you're still going to create incredible images no matter what. So that is pretty much the end of my whole Nikon kit. We got the two Nikon Z6s, we got the 24 to 70, the 50 millimeter, we also have the 14 to 30, 24 to 200, and we have the 200 500. I actually really like my kit a lot. I think there's not too many holes in it. I have, you know, I really just need a 70 to 200, and I feel like the kit will be very well rounded. And after that, majority of the other things are just going to be kind of lenses that are going to be filling specific needs and so on. Let's talk about the lenses and bodies that I really want to add to this kit to make it more comprehensive, much more fuller, and fill all the needs that I want. First of all, the next Nikon Z6 generation, the Nikon Z6 III as we'll call it, that is probably the next bodies I want to pick up, because we've seen how incredible the Nikon Z9 autofocus has been. That is the next evolution, the next step in the Nikon Z system for me. It's not something that I desperately need, but if I could have better autofocusing, better ergonomics, better system overall, why wouldn't I go with it? So that is the next time I'm looking for things that have not been announced or come out yet. The next, you know, lenses that I want would definitely be a 70 to 200. I'm debating on whether I should get a Tamron version or the native Nikon Z version, because that's like a $1,200 difference between the native Nikon Z and the Tamron, which I know is an incredible lens, but would require an adapter. You know, I'm looking at that as well. The next lens that I'm actually going to be picking up very soon, and the next video I'm making is on this lens, is a 28mm f2.8 pancake. So if you want to, you know, stay tuned, wait for that. Feel free to subscribe so you can be notified and know when that video is coming out for the 28mm, because that's going to be a really good video. I'm really excited for that lens. And, you know, that lens is going to be really interesting for its niches and needs, because it's going to be more compact. So I can kind of just throw in my bag, take anywhere and everywhere, because it's lightweight, really easy to use. So very excited for that lens. And probably the last lens that I need is a 20mm f1.8s. This lens is probably going to be the ones that help me with astrophotography in particular. And I have always had a particular love for the 20mm focal length. I think it's a really interesting one. I think it adds a unique sense of, it's weird to say this, but a unique sense of compression for landscape photography. The photos I actually really like. They're much more unique, much more different than your traditional, you know, wide angle 14 to 16mm photos. So, and that lens would be perfect for astrophotography in particular. Shooting at 1.8 would really help minimize the ISO need for astrophotography. So that is this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. That is my full Nikon Z full frame kit for 2022. There's going to be definitely some updates coming soon. There's going to be some lenses going to be added and whatnot. I can't wait to make those videos for you guys on those. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. I am officially back forever. The videos are me coming your way. I am done with college, so that is what it is. I'm really excited for that, and it just means I get to spend more time with you guys and making videos that you guys are gonna love and enjoy, and I'm really excited to do that. YouTube has always been, you know, something that I've loved for quite a while. I've been doing it since I was 12, and photography in particular has been something that I've loved for around 6 years. So I can't wait to, you know, get full steam ahead, prioritize this channel as a main need. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the ride, and stay tuned for my next video. Thank you so much for experiencing the world with me. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.